I'm Jennifer Hurst, and I'm an associate professor in exercise science here at Truman, and I've been here for about 6 years.
Hi, I'm Kathy Monroe, and I've been at Truman for 6 years. I'm the assistant softball coach here, and I also teach some health and exercise science lifetime activities courses. So I enjoy being outdoors and active.
I think TruAdventure is an excellent way of learning how to be safe outdoors, being able to be active and being able to explore many of the great wonders that are available within our national parks. So if somebody has a sense of adventure and wants to learn a little bit more about many of the great beautiful things that we have set aside as a society that we feel are important, and I think many times because our national parks say a little bit about who we are and the diversity of our population, and it's an excellent opportunity to go and explore that. Find out a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about our world and the great land that we live on.
I think there's quite a few benefits that are involved, different levels. One, it's just you're gathering knowledge by going to these places. You're going to be learning about geologically the land. You're going to be learning about the people and the cultures that live there. And then from personal experience, you're also just going to be able to, at least for me, when I'm out in nature, I tend to have, some time where I'm able to self-reflect, and you're able to see kind of a time where you can step back and just take a break from the hustle and bustle of the world that we're all involved in, where time is, everything's going so quickly. This is a time for you to kind of step back, just gather your thoughts, and just be one out in nature. And so it's just a really good opportunity just to broaden your intelligence and knowledge about different cultures and areas, and then it's just beautiful to look at as well.
When we first come out of Denver and we head over the Rocky Mountains, you're going to see the Rocky Mountains. This is actually the oldest mountain range within the United States, and they're beautiful craggy peaks that have snow on top of them, and it's just amazing whether you're watching them from the base of the mountain or even from a bus window. They're amazing to see. And when we get out into Moab, we're going to get into a completely different landscape that's desert. And if one lives in Missouri, you don't run into too many deserts, so you're going to get to experience a very arid environment. And Arches is a very unique area because it's the highest concentration of geological features in terms of arches. You're going to get to see many different kinds, and they blow your mind about how amazing they look, and the power that weather and water and wind has in terms of forming the earth that we live in, and being able to see the progress of that over thousands of years. And then as we transfer back into Colorado, we're going to get to see the Rocky Mountains again, but we sort of stay in that arid environment, and we get to see some more examples of how people have modified the landscape to be able to live and thrive on that landscape, and the unique and interesting things that they've had to do to be able to live in those unique places. And then once we get to the Arkansas River, you're going to get to see the beautiful landscape that's there within the river. And then of course I'm always a big fan of water, so I love seeing the rapids and the water and the different characteristics that the water has that changes day to day. So there's just going to be amazing things to see that get me really excited every time that I go out and explore these beautiful places. The Ute Mountain Tribal Park is actually a unique kind of off the beaten path area to visit. Most people are very familiar with Mesa Verde, which has the big grandiose cliff dwellings, but the Ute Mountain Tribal Park just lies just south to Mesa Verde National Park, and actually contains similar cliff dwellings that you'll find in Mesa Verde, but they've preserved them in a very different way. The Ute tribe, which are not actually descendants of the Anunnaki, believe that if it's not ours, we need to leave it alone. So unlike Mesa Verde, you can walk into these ruins areas, and it looks like people have just left. You find corn cobs still there. You find yucca slippers. So in many ways you get a much better sense for what was life like for these people, and in some ways are able to make a connection with that culture, because it's not all cleaned up and pretty and with no artifacts or anything like that. And so they have a different way of preserving that culture by leaving it be. And so if you find a pottery shard on the ground, you can pick it up, you can look at it, you can study it, as long as you put it back where you found it. So it's just another way of being able to experience this culture and get to know them. It's a very unique and exciting experience. And we are in Arches and Canyonlands National Park. Myself and Kathy will be your primary education tool. Both of us are interested in these areas, and we're going to be doing a lot of preparation in terms of learning about the geology and the anthropology and history of the parks themselves, and being able to translate that to you, as well as being able to translate information to you about how do you navigate across those lands and how do you do it safely. And how do you pace yourself, or how do you happen to traverse a certain area that looks just a little bit scary, but if you know exactly how to do it, you can do it. There will be times where we're actually using local guides, and in fact, while we're in Arches, we're going to make an attempt to visit the fiery furnace. And one of the only ways that you can do that is if you are accompanied by a National Park Service individual, and so they will be providing some more in-depth information about that. In addition to that, when we go to the Ute Mountain Tribal Park, one of the ways that they control the number of people that are going to be visiting that area is by, you can only go into that area if you have a tribal guide with you. What's amazing about that is these tribal guides, everything is handed down through an oral language, so they have an amazing amount of information, and it's really interesting to hear about, this is what this culture was like from somebody that is similar to them versus myself. Of course, lastly, we're going to be using a guide service when we go down the Arkansas River. I love whitewater rafting, but I don't know how to navigate somebody through rapids, so we're going to let the professionals do that. And in addition to that, they have a lot of information about the ecology of the river, and know it very intimately as they traverse it every single day. So it's going to be able to learn about that river from a very unique perspective.
On this trip, I would say that as long as you are, you're able to be up on your feet, walking around for most of the day, you're going to be fine on this trip. We're going to be doing some hikes, but we'll have breaks during the day as well. There will be some terrain that may be, moderately difficult, but nothing too harsh and for too long. So if you're able to walk a mile at a decent pace, and you're able to be up on your feet and active most of the day, then you shouldn't have a problem with this trip and what we're doing. Well, Jen and myself have been trained to take care of situations such as that. We'll assess, different ones. If we're able to treat you at that point in time and self-evacuate you if needed, we will do so. If we think it's something that requires emergency services, we do have the capability to communicate with the National Park emergency services so that they can come in and help you. There should be nearby towns as well if you were to need, God forbid, any kind of hospital, medical care from a doctor. We would be able to get you to those places if needed. So we should be prepared as much as we possibly can for those type of situations. We're also going to be on trails that are very well traveled, so it shouldn't be, they're prepared for these kind of things on a daily basis, and they are used to having that kind of situation, which I don't think happens very often, but it does happen on occasion. Also, if you feel like you are not up to it that day or you're feeling a little sick, we're always going to err on the cautious side. So we're never going to force you to do something you don't feel like you would be prepared to do. We would take the necessary steps so that hopefully none of these emergency type situations would be ever even an option.
Pretty much we're going to be back to the hotels by about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and you will have an opportunity to find some place around the area that we're staying to eat. Honestly, we're going to be active enough throughout the day that you're probably not going to feel like you want to go off and climb a mountain after that, and some of you might just go ahead and relax in your bed. But that time is your own, and it's also time for you to get to know the people that you're with and really experience and continue maybe conversations that you started having out on the trail about things you've seen and things that you've done.
Yeah, I think it's kind of up to you at that point, but knowing, kind of what your limitations are, particularly probably the first night, you want to probably take it a little easier just because you don't know what's going to be happening later on, but you're all adults and you are responsible enough to make those kinds of decisions. We, have faith that you'll make, those decisions.
For some people, carbo loading is the best way to prepare for the next day, but it will be up to each individual person on what they want to do with their evenings, and I might just be going to bed. We look forward to seeing you in June.
Come have yourself an adventure.